Hey everyone, it's Derrick here with another video, and today we are talking about the Canon EOS R6. And I've had this camera for about 2 weeks now, and I thought I would just give it a quick view on sort of my thoughts on it. And this is me upgrading from the SL2 to the R6, and the SL2 was an APS-C sensor, and I just had a 80mm lens, f1.8, 10 to 18 f4, and then a 18 to 55, which is the kit lens. So nothing special, but I wanted to give a review on this full frame, or a preview, or a what it's like 2 weeks after first impressions. And I would say overall, like, the impressions are pretty good. I think the only thing that I don't like is the overheating aspect. Okay, so this has officially overheated. I can now, whenever I press the record button, after recording that 29-minute and 59 seconds clip, you can see every time I click the record button, it will not record. You can see it up here that it's overheated. And I just recorded this in 4K, 60 frames per second. And yeah, that's the result from the EOS R6. Just to confirm this, I am able to technically take pictures. So if I switch back into video, still doesn't allow me to record video. So there you have it. Overheating with the EOS R6. And I came into this issue countless times where I was recording in 4K 60 frames per second and it would just get hot, and then even with the firmware updates, I'm currently at 1.51, I think, and yeah, I'm still having some of the issues. I'm getting that message, I'm getting that blinking screen, and yeah, it just feels hot in the hands. And it also, the other thing that I noticed is that the battery runs out pretty quickly. So that's one thing that I wanted to note, especially if I'm recording video, I'm having some issues with that. So that's one of the things. Another thing is, I'm not the greatest photographer, nor am I greatest videographer for that matter. And the one thing that I noticed with this is that the sensor, it has a 20 megapixel sensor. So if I, for example, am too far away from a subject and I need to crop in, I don't do this super often, but I mean, it would be nice to have a bigger sensor or more megapixels so that I can crop in. Also, the 4K video is 30 frames per second and it's IPV, and yeah, it's certainly not bad. I think it's downsampled and compressed a little bit, but it's downsampled from a 5.1K shot. So I think overall, like, the video is really good. I think the last video that I did about the 50mm RF versus EF, that one, like, I can actually see like the color in my eyes, and it was super sharp. So that was something that I really like. And I gotta say, with this camera, it's really sharp. And also to note, like, the autofocus on these systems, so the R6 and R5 have the same autofocus system, so they're really good. And I would say the other thing to note is that it's really good for like autofocusing on people's eyes. And that's something that I noticed, like, if I was walking around or something like that and just trying to have it focus on something, it didn't really know where to focus. So that's one thing to note. There are a lot of different settings in it, and there's a lot of changes that you can make to the settings to fit what you want. Like, if, for example, I just wanted to focus on a point, then I would select that within the menu, and then there's a lot of other different options that you should definitely take into consideration when you're trying to use the camera and you're first using it and setting it up. So it varies based on what you plan to use it for. But other than that, like, these are some examples of the stills. Man, the stills are great. because as I mentioned, like look at this, like it's focusing on my eyes, and then let me turn on some light so you can get some better. Look at this in my eyes. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but like I have really dark brown eyes, and it's just not something that you typically see in any of the videos that I've shot before. Granted, I typically am not blasting light into my eyes, but you know, it's just something that's nice to see quality wise. And actually, we're not even wide open. We're at f2.0. We can go even wider, 1.8. There we go. And now we got a blurry background in the back, so that's super awesome. So yeah, that's just something that I like. The inputs, the flippy screen is nice. The fact that the autofocus does autofocus on 100% of the screen is really nice as well. And it can shoot mechanically 12 frames per second when you're shooting photos, and up to 20 when you are shooting with the electronic shutter. That's freaking insane. Like, I've never seen something shoot so fast in my life. And granted, like, I haven't really purchased really expensive stuff before. My old camera had 5 frames per second and all of them were out of focus. So this one is really easy to focus, and it captures like my cat's eyes really easily, and it focuses really, really quickly. So I can't emphasize that enough. If you're shooting photography if you're shooting sports photography, like, this is something that you can definitely use. And it's only supposed to be retailing for $2,500. I got this for $2,100, and I think $2,300 with taxes. So it's pretty expensive, but overall, like, I think it's definitely worth it, and definitely a huge competitor against the Sony a7 IV. Now, with that said, I have a Sony a7 IV on the way because I want to test that out. I think it works better for the workflow that I typically use. I'm typically more video centric, and I think that's one of the things that I want to steer more towards. And it has, like, I want to use less lenses, so something like the 50, like, there's a lot more options when you talk about not having an adapter to this, which I'm not saying that I have a problem with putting an adapter on it, but I think I can get away with 2 lenses with the Sony systems and instead of 3 lenses with the Canon. Now, is that such a big issue? Not necessarily, but I also hear the battery life and there's no overheating with the Sony a7 IV. So I'm going to test it out. I'm going to see if I like it, and I'll have to come back to you to see which one I like best. But right now it seems like, because I shoot mostly video, that I'm steering more towards that camera. So with that said, I'll have to say goodbye to the EOS R6, even though it's a really awesome camera. The autofocus system is just insane, and if you're taking picture of people and animals and animal life and I guess vehicles, then it's definitely something that you want to take into consideration, and something that you definitely don't want to overlook, because autofocus is great, and all these full frame cameras and the technology that they have nowadays is really amazing. So you definitely can't go wrong unless you go with like Nikon. That's like a Jared Polin joke. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions at all. This is just my experience with the EOS R6 for the last 2 weeks. And overall, the experiences has been really, really great, especially when taking still photography. Video, not so much, but still photography is just amazing. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.